are listening to the Music Ed Mentor podcast, where we teach music educators how to build, manage, and grow thriving school music programs and have long and happy careers. This episode is no exception. I am your host, Elisa Jansen. You can follow my music education blog at professionalmusiceducator.com or find me on Facebook at Professional Music Educator with Elisa Jansen. That's right. If you were listening to this podcast about 6 months ago, you would have heard me say Elisa Jones. But guess what? I got married and my husband's just so awesome. I've decided to take his last name. I'm going to take it good places, like this awesome podcast. So I'm super glad you are here to join me today. This month of March has been officially designated by the National Association for Music Education, that's NAfME to you and me, for the observance of Music in Our Schools Month, or MIOSM, which if you try and read that like you read NAfME, you might end up with a word you feel uncomfortable with. So I'm just saying we're going to go with MIOSM. The time of the year when music education becomes the focus of schools across the nation. Music in Our Schools Month began as a single statewide celebration in 1973 and has grown over the decades to encompass a day, then a week, and then in 1985 to become a month-long celebration of school music. The purpose of MIOSM, or Music in Our Schools Month, is to raise awareness of the importance of music education for all children and to remind citizens that school is where all children should have access to music. MIOSM is an opportunity for music teachers to bring their music programs to the attention of the school and the community and to display the benefits of that school music brings to students of all ages. I just totally stole that from the NAfME website because as a music teacher about a year ago, I was like super gung-ho, right? It's March. I'm going to be getting involved in Music in Our Schools Month. And I went to the NAfME website and I found a list of activities that they suggested. And I did a few of the things, but it was mostly in my own classroom with my own students in my own school where they're already supportive of music. They already love it. So what is the point? That's what I want to talk about today. So let me simplify this for you. This is basically NAfME's way of giving you the all clear to promote the heck out of your program. And that means, for most of us, advocacy. That means marketing. That means you do stuff and you tell people about it. I know you're like, but Elisa, I already do that. And yeah, it's totally true. You do. I do. We all do. But here's the thing. Having a national organization at your back is like saying #MeToo, right? You're a group of people sharing a message in a concerted effort rather than our own little efforts throughout the year. Okay, so maybe that's a bad example, but you get the idea. It's your opportunity to say, hey, can I take over the school bulletin board for music stuff instead of St. Patrick's Day this year? You can also get this chance to tell other teachers how amazing you are. Last year, like I said, I participated by pulling a few things off of the NAfME website's list of recommended activities, and I decided to teach a unit on instruments. I borrowed a wide variety of instruments from my local music store. Big, huge thanks and shout out to Roper Music in Grand Junction, Colorado, for always being super supportive of our music ed programs here. And I let the kids play the instruments. Then we made our own instruments out of straws. And I didn't just do it in my classroom. I went to their classrooms so that they could use their scissors and they could experience it at their own desks. And most of the time, the teachers stayed there and were amazed that not only were these kids who were sitting in their desks all day long, not talking most of the time. They were now up and animated and trying new things and making weird noises. And of course, it increased their respect for me being able to handle that much noise and what seemed like chaos to them, but was a beautiful expression of music making to me, right? So anyway, we do this fun activity. Then I go to the NAfME website and apply for a certificate. And it comes in the mail and I show it to my principal and I'm so excited. I'm like, hey, look, I got a certificate for participating in Music in Our Schools Month. And he just looked at me, my principal, because he just didn't understand. You see, he's already very supportive. So here's what we need to ask ourselves. What specific things can we do in our situations to increase awareness of our programs and gain the support that we need? How can we get more advocates on our side? How can we best use this time of this month in a concerted effort to make the biggest difference? And most of all, how can we do this without making more work for ourselves? So today I'm going to be giving you some ideas for how you can leverage the fact that March is Music in Our Schools Month. Whether you're in a K-12 teaching program or the high school band teacher or the middle school choir director or the beginning orchestra teacher, in whatever situation you're in, let's make your program more significant this month, because I'm going to be really honest here. I want new risers. My principal is super supportive, but if I go in asking for new risers, I'm not entirely sure he's going to jump on the bandwagon. Now, if I get some advocacy going, I get some parents behind me, how could he say no? And so I want you to be thinking as we go throughout this episode about what you really want for your program. What can you advocate for? Not just for additional support or words of kindness, but what physical things do you need? What actions do you want people to take that can make the biggest difference in your program? And you can use the power of this month and all of the backing that you can get and all of the concerted advocacy that you can do to get that desired outcome. And it shouldn't just be a certificate. All right, my friends? So if you are thinking of recruiting and retention right now, which you probably are, you'll discover a whole lot of great stuff on the smartmusic.com blog. Just navigate to smartmusic.com/blog and search for recruiting. You can also discover a whole lot of other ideas on advocacy brought to you by the leading music educators in the country, like John Benham, who literally wrote the book on music advocacy. He has a post on the Smart Music blog right now that's all about how to build a music coalition to advocate for your school. And that's what we're talking about, is getting a team of people in a concerted effort together. And if you're looking to do just that, make sure that you catch our next episode, which is all about how to start a booster club or manage the one that you have even better. The freebies for that episode will be something you do not want to miss. So right now, subscribe to this podcast, share it with your like-minded music educator friends, and be sure to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes so that others can find us too. Okay, let's get down to business. The first thing you need to realize is that Music in Our Schools Month is really just about permission. It's basically giving you all the reason that you need to do all that advocacy stuff that you've been meaning to do, but haven't discovered, a great reason to do it. I recommend that you start off by having a goal, like I said, and you should be thinking about this the whole time we talk today. Is your goal to get some public recognition? Is it to get more followers on your Facebook page? Is it to grow your email list so that you have more marketing opportunities? Is it to get some funding for your program? Is it to get students in your classroom every day instead of every other day? Maybe this is a great time for recruiting or talking to your principal about adding a new class for you to teach at the school. Whatever your reason is, set a goal. By having a goal, you're going to know even better how to leverage this month's activities. So let's talk business, because next to my family and teaching music and being out on trails, business is probably my favorite topic. Many of you who have been our listeners for quite a while have heard me talk about my other life as a business consultant. So yeah, I have an MBA and I spend time every week helping small businesses through consulting and coaching them, particularly entrepreneurs and single small business owners, okay? One of the main things that I focus on is goal achievement. I mean, anyone can set a goal, but unless you have a plan on how you're going to achieve that goal, it's pretty much just words on a paper. The first step is to make it clear with what you want to accomplish, okay? How is it going to be measured and when it will be achieved by? So Google right now if you are wondering what I'm talking about, SMART goals, okay? You just need to be specific and measurable and timely and realistic and all that good stuff, all right? So for example, if I'm the high school orchestra teacher, and if this is the month when students are going to be registering for high school orchestra, this might be a great time for me to set some recruitment goals and to use Music in Our Schools Month as the excuse for my actions so that it doesn't feel like I'm being super pushy, right? So here's what I do. I state my big goal. I know that there are 150 students in the middle school orchestra feeder programs. I want 100 of them to be in my high school orchestra. So my goal says, I will have 100 students register for my symphony orchestra by April 1st. Is it a measurable goal? Yes. How will I measure it? By the registration numbers. Does it have a deadline? Yes. Is it reasonable? Is it achievable? Yeah, probably. I mean, it's not like I'm saying I want 200 students where there are only 150 players in middle school, right? That might be unreasonable and a stretch, but 100 kids, we could probably make that happen, right? Okay, so now we have our big goal. We're going to break it down into specific objectives. These are like little checkpoints along the way to our big goal. Sticking with our high school orchestra example, my objectives might be hosting an orchestra open house where the middle school students get a special invitation to bring their instrument and jam with the upperclassmen. We have refreshments and the funnest music in our music library and videos playing and free stuff to hand out, and it's going to be awesome. So that's our next checkpoint or objective. We're going to break it down into specific tasks. Well, we'd need to set a date. We need to make up flyers for it, both printed and digital. We need to get those flyers to the middle schools. We need to then post the digital flyers to the school Facebook page. We need to email the flyers to our email list. We need to figure out which songs to do, which upperclassmen will be there. We need to order the refreshments and have tables set up for them. We need to have t-shirts to hand out or pencils or pens or whatever you have, and registration forms there and ready to go. So it becomes not just the orchestra night, but their opportunity to register before the other students. You see what I'm saying here? So it's goal, objective, then break it down into tasks. Now you have a list of tasks, and you know if you get that list accomplished, then the objective will be met. If the objectives are met, then you've met the goal. This example may feel like a bit of a stretch for Music in Our Schools Month, but stick with me here. If people are wondering why you're throwing a shindig at your school and inviting a bunch of people, then you can say, well, heck, it's Music in Our Schools Month. We're just trying to get the word out about the music programs in our school. So it doesn't become an orchestra recruiting night. I mean, that's totally what is happening underneath it all. But you tell everybody, we're just bringing awareness to the music programs in our school. So we really want the middle school kids to come because it's Music in Our Schools Month. Do you see how that tones down any kind of, anticipation of salesmanship that the students might be feeling, or especially the parents, right? They're all super tuned to that kind of thing. All right. So that leads us to the next focus this month, which is advocacy. I've kind of always hated the ambiguity that seems to be a deep and meaningful relationship with that word, advocacy. It wasn't until I was in the midst of my Master of Business Administration degree that I realized advocacy has a much better word in the business world. We call it marketing, or sometimes public relations. That means it's so much more than getting the parents of our students involved. It's converting the unbelievers. It's bringing people around to your way of thinking. It's getting public recognition for what you're offering. It's increasing your program's significance with the public at large. It's growing your list of stakeholders. It's making people care who maybe didn't before. So let me give you an example. Last night, I went to the big fundraiser for our school, and it's a big, big fundraiser because a lot of the students at our school are scholarshiped. Anyway, so I'm at the fundraiser, and it's so sweet because all of these parents are coming up to me. And, as the music teacher in the school, I'm very public face, right? Everybody comes to our concerts, and I teach 3/4 of the school, right? So I keep having these parents coming up to me and saying, oh, Miss Jones, we just love your class and we love your programs. And oh my goodness, everybody needs to come to your veterans program. It's just amazing. And they introduce themselves as the parents of a certain child, and I get to tell them all about their child in my class. And it's this wonderful interaction. And when I say thank you, I say thank you so much. I couldn't do it if it weren't for my supportive administration. Would you mind going down to them and letting them know how much you appreciate music in our school? And do you think that they hesitate? They don't, because we're at this big party and the principal and assistant principal were right there. So that became my new line. Thank you so much. I adore your child. They're a fantastic student in music. They just love it, and I love them, and they're fantastic. Now, if you really love music, I really couldn't do it without my administration. Why don't you go tell them? How powerful is that? To have parents who are the primary stakeholders in the school to go to my principal and say, you know what, you're sure lucky to have Miss Jones, and thank you for supporting music in our schools, right? So it's that kind of thing, okay? Let me give you another example, okay? I mentioned before that my principal, same principal I was just talking about, looked at my certificate from NAfME last year and just handed it back without understanding the significance, right? Well, this year I found myself with some schedule changes, which has left me with a total of 15 minutes rehearsal per week for kids who want to volunteer to sing in our mass choir. And we have mass once a week, and it's a big deal, okay? So the ceremony, the choir leads the singing of the songs. There are 4 big songs and about 6 smaller ones. There are soloists, ones that can sing from the choir seats, and some that have to go up on the podium in front of everyone. This requires a lot of time and preparation, and I have 15 minutes per week with a handful of volunteer students who have to skip recess to come to me, okay? There is no option for choir at my school, only band, which limits it to people who either love band or love art, because those are their choices. I see all of the younger students twice per week and have been teaching them to sing and perform, and they do it very, very well. Not to toot my own horn or whatever, but seriously, they're getting really good. By the time they join the band, they can read music, they can articulate, they can move their fingers. Okay, you get what I'm saying. So let's get back to Music in Our Schools month. This month, I'm going to go to my principal and point out that if we had a middle school choir, then they could do the music for Mass. And that would make all the priests happy and the rest of the board happy and the parents happy. And it'd be a great outlet for the students who maybe don't have a passion for band, right? We could do it before school if we have to. But right now, our students need a choir option that's not 15 minutes on a volunteer basis once a week. Band and art are just not enough. I could even point out to him that one of the plans for the huge gala fundraiser we had last night, none of the 7th graders wanted to perform, that the organizers wanted to have this beautiful choral selection performed at the beginning to bring everybody kind of to attention. And it would have made a wonderful contribution to the night. But none of the 7th and 8th graders felt confident as vocalists. If we had a middle school choir, then they could have done a marvelous performance for the gala, which is what the planners really wanted. If I really wanted to make my point, I could send out a press release that says, March is Music in Our Schools month, and at our school, we care a lot about music. And I could invite the newscasters to come in and film our students singing or playing, or I could invite them to come in and make a straw instrument, or I could email all the morning shows and say, hey, if you'd like to have some really fun programming, bring me in and I'll teach your newscasters how to make an instrument out of a straw. Your audience will love it. If you have a strong Facebook following, I recommend scheduling posts every other day of music advocacy articles. Get evidence out there of why music is so important for your students. if you have a performance this month, or maybe more than one, you have this prime opportunity. Make sure that with every program you hand out, you give out a trifold music advocacy flyer. You can get them for free from bepartofthemusic.com. Also, I just went to my daughter's performance last week, and in the program he had quotes. The band teacher had quotes about music advocacy and had a calendar of upcoming events. What a great way to get people more involved if they can. You can also use Music in Our Schools Month as a great excuse to ask for money. Get up before your performance and say, for those of you who didn't already know, March is when the nation celebrates Music in Our Schools Month. If you love that we have music here at our school, we ask you to show that appreciation by giving a little bit to our scholarship fund, or our new music fund, or our new instrument fund, or our new risers fund, okay? So whichever you really want as your goal. Tell them they can drop the money in the drum on the way out, or leave a check in the envelope that you provide, or via an online website that's printed in their program, or heck, it may take a few minutes at the start of your concert, and it may take you putting some ego on, but it may also mean a few $100s that could make all the difference in your program. And if you aren't comfortable doing the asking, then get a parent to. That's what my son's middle school band teacher does. She asks a parent to get up and talk about their kid's experience and then make the call to action for donations. At intermission, a handful of students walk through the audience with upturned drums for donations of cash and checks. At the door as you leave the concert, there are parents holding the drums taking donations. Okay, so we've talked about making a goal for the month, then creating objectives that will help you reach that goal. Then breaking the objectives down to tasks that can be scheduled easily on your calendar so they can be managed and accomplished in the time frame you need them accomplished by. We talked about a few ways that you can change your thinking and get people involved. Remember, this is your chance to convert the unbelievers, whatever way you can think of to do that. Another way, I'm throwing a whole bunch of them at you here, I know. And you're going to have a freebie download too on the show notes page, so be sure to grab that. Don't just involve the press as aforementioned, but involve the decision makers too. Make sure your administration gets invitations to your concert and that you publicly thank them over the microphone. I know, you probably already do that, but just don't forget. Maybe give them a front seat on the front row. Maybe get them to welcome everybody to the performance. Really, anything you can do to make them feel special. Then think about the next level up. Who in your district makes the decisions? Is it your school board? Can you send them a band t-shirt? Can you send them an invitation to your next concert, not just from you, but maybe signed by a few of your students? Can you have your students all sign a poster saying, "Thank you for supporting music in our schools," and then have all your students sign that? Because politicians love that stuff. In addition to Facebook campaign information, which, to backtrack just a bit, you're going to be doing a campaign of any kind, make sure that with everything you post, with everything you send, whether it's a meme or an article or a link to a fun video, please make sure that you have a call to action. Whether it's share this video or tag someone you think could use this information, or like if you were in middle school orchestra, or donate now, or for more information, join our email list. Give them some action to take at the end of what you're saying, even if it's something as little as, if you support music in our schools, hit like. Because when someone does something for you, it makes them care, it warms them up as your audience, and it makes them easier to convert when it's time to do so. Also, as you go forward promoting your program, I want you to keep in mind that the thing you're really promoting, the thing you're really selling, it isn't the band or the orchestra or the choir or the guitar program or the general music curriculum or whatever. What you're selling is the outcome of those things. What you are selling is the improvement in behavior in the students. It's the growth mindset that they get to inhabit for the rest of their lives. It's the scholarship potential. It's the lifelong friendships. It's the experience. The outcome is what you're selling, which means that you're really not selling band or orchestra or choir or general music or yourself or your program or your classes or your tour or your curriculum or any of that. You're selling something far more important and interminable. You're selling the changes that happen to your students over the course of their participation. And that is more valuable than any instrument or scholarship or skill, more than any music or lesson or teacher or class. And that, my friends, is what Music in Our Schools Month is all about and how you can leverage it. Show the world the importance of those outcomes of having music in our schools, having music in your school. It's your excuse to toot your own horn, and please forgive me for that pun, but it's true. It's your nationally recognized reason for going on the TV, calling the radio stations, posting impassioned articles and video testimonials on social media, for sending that funding request to your email list, which you've been growing and segregating, right? Because honestly, email is one of your very best marketing and advocacy tools out there, and we should probably have an episode on that. But either way, start your email marketing list, okay? These are the ways that you leverage Music in Your Schools Month. Now, because you're all my besties, I really want to help you out. I've created a checklist, like I said, of things that you can do to convert the unconverted. And that includes a lot of the stuff you'll find on the NAfME webpage, though I do have links for that as well in the show notes, plus a lot of my own ideas and those of a bunch of teachers like you. Don't forget that Smart Music is also helping you out with music advocacy and marketing tips on their music education blog. It's super easy to remember, smartmusic.com/blog. Grab your free flyers and brochures and videos from bepartofthemusic.com, which, by the way, if you haven't already listened to our episode on retention, where I talked to Scott Lang and you get his ideas, go add that to your playlist right now. It's fabulous. Remember that if you really care about music in our schools, you'll help spread the word about this podcast. We really want to just help support music education in all its realms throughout the nation and the world. Like, rate, and share this podcast. Also, last thing, I know I've filled you with a ton of information in this very short episode, but if you're ready for next level professional development, check out musicedsummit.com and register now for the 100% online professional development conference coming up this June. For about 1/3 of the price you'd pay to go to your state conference, you'll be treated to peer-reviewed sessions from presenters around the world. And because it's online, you can attend virtually while wearing your pajamas. Now, go to musicedsummit.com and pick your favorite sessions now. Until next time, my friends, keep doing the awesome work that you do, and this month, shout out about it, and keep teaching on.